Hi, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, we're gonna get started. It's 10 o'clock. You guys ready? I know most of you were on my Zoom last night, so we went over the buyer agency agreement, the contract of sale, and the addendum to the buyer agency agreement, and as well as the cooperating broker agreement. I will, if you missed it last night, I will do another one next week. I think we need to keep doing these and just practicing. So if you missed last night, I am planning on doing it next Monday again, 5 to 7, and feel free to join again. So for today, we're going to go over the tenant agency agreement, and then as well as the new listing form. As you guys know, rentals have also changed. So it's important to know that when you're getting that listing, you have to have that conversation with the owner. The tenant is really no longer required to pay the 1 month rental fee. So if you're getting a rental listing, you have to have that conversation with the owner, because yes, can you still request that the tenant pays the commission? You might end up losing that pool of tenants who just want to pay the half a month. So I'm going to share my screen and just go over the agreements. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is the exclusive tenant agency agreement. Very self-explanatory, very similar to the buyer agency agreement. So right here on the first page, you're going to write the tenant's name, the brokerage, which obviously is Remax Select, licensee. If you and like a team member is working with the tenant, you can always add their names. If you're the team leader and you have a team member showing properties to the tenant, that's fine. This agreement covers. Now, on obviously here, where you're going to state where the following areas that you're going to be covering for them. So if you're doing county, cities, specific, you can just do the whole state. If you're not, then this is where you're going to be specific, like Monmouth, Ocean County. You can put Hudson County, Morris County, Bergen County, whatever you feel comfortable with. This is where you're going to list it. I personally would not just do the entire state of New Jersey. I'm not going to drive down the shore for a rental. So be specific. As you know, that a tenant can hire you for, let's just say, they can go and say, Tiffany, I want you to only find me, I want to hire you just to look for a property in Bergen County. And then they can go to Dave and sign an agreement and say, Dave, I want you to help me in Morris County, and so on. So be specific. Obviously, if you feel like you can cover the whole state, then write New Jersey. It does say that if it's not filled, it covers New Jersey. I would still write it. Any questions on that part? Self-explanatory, right? Okay, so here's the tenant's representation. So this just says that the tenant does not have a business relationship with another real estate brokerage firm, and no other tenant agency agreement is currently in effect for the area set forth in Section 1, including any protection period following the expiration of termination of the agreement. This means that if, let's say, you chose the state of New Jersey and now they went to, let's say you're in Morris County and they went to Ocean County, they wouldn't be able to sign another agreement. But if you just had this listed as Morris County, then they can go ahead and get another agreement for Ocean County. Agency disclosure, obviously now same rule applies as for the buyers. You can choose tenants agents only, tenants agent and disclosed dual agent if the opportunity arises, or tenants agent and designated agent if the opportunity arises. I would pick the second one because you never know. You might come along and find you might have a listing in the near future, and then if you have a tenant, you want to be able to do both sides. So it's up to you. If you know you don't get rental listings, then you can go ahead and pick one, tenants agent only. Now, the designated agent, obviously you need to know, don't complicate yourself, don't make it overwhelming. That just means that if you have, if there is a landlord that does not want a dual agency, that's where the designated agency will come in play. The terms, same thing. You can, let's say you're signing it today, you'll write today's date, and it could expire like the following: tenant leases property as set forth in section 1, or at midnight on, you can put the date, or you can put days. So this is where you can put 1 day, 2 days, 1 week, 1 month, 2 month, 3 month. You have the option, whatever you feel comfortable in the buyer, you guys can negotiate and pick the dates. Now, somebody showed me a screenshot this morning. They were scheduling a showing, and it says, in order for you to show this property, make sure you have an agency agreement signed. This would apply for tenants. If you were working with a tenant before August 1st, please do not continue showing them properties without the agreement. I know this is a hard conversation to have, but we must follow the law. This is not a RE/MAX form. This is a state regulated form. So we need to make sure that you're having those conversations with your tenants and make sure that they're signing this agreement before you show them properties. And guys, if you have questions, like, feel free, just stop me and ask me. Commission to broker, again, this applies to both landlord and tenant. No law, government agency, trade association, or MLS has fixed the amount, format, or rate of any commission to, or other compensation to be paid to broker. So obviously this says that it's negotiable. You get to pick what you want. Do you want to charge your tenant a 1 month broker fee? Go ahead. Half a month, go ahead. Flat fee, you can do that. So there's no set amount. The only thing is the retainer fee. It's going to be no retainer fee. We are not collecting a retainer fee at RE/MAX Select. So that's going to be, when you see this form on Dotloop, it's going to be already check marked as no retainer fee. And then where it's the commission part, you can put a percentage, you can put a flat fee. Just remember, there's so many laws regarding rentals and how much, like, what's the maximum you can charge. That form is on Dotloop. Please take a look. Don't go crazy and be like, oh my God, 40% or whatever it is. So if you're going to put a percentage, you'll put it on box 1, flat fee, box 2, other. That's where you can put 1 broker month fee, or you can do, you know, half a month, whatever you negotiate with the tenant. The tenant is no longer required to pay a 1 month broker fee. Now, what's going to happen is that landlords do have the right to still list properties and request that the tenant pays the broker fee, but that will eliminate the large amount of the pool of tenants that you can get for the property, because they no longer have to. If you have a tenant, why would you want your tenant to pay the full month of rent if they don't have to? So just keep that in mind. Have all those conversations with both landlord and tenant, because it goes both ways.
Edona, I have a
Yes.
question for the for the lending. This kind of leasing, in the MLS, is it the same as the purchase? And we are not allowed to put the commission or any wording saying that the tenant is paying half of their commission, this kind of wording.
Yeah, but so every MLS, it's gonna, the format is gonna be a little different. So like on Garden State MLS, they do list that you get to pick, like, if landlord's paying commission, tenant, or both, that box is still there. And JMLS still had it as well. But no, can you write it like, you know, commission is 1 month? No, do not write it. So just whatever the check boxes are on the MLS listing, that's where you're going to work on.
Oh,
So
okay.
you can still pick if the landlord is paying the commission, the tenant, or both.
So that is the one you just mentioned is in the listing agreement, the documents, right? What I'm referring to is the showing in the MLS. We are not,
Yes,
same as we are not allowed to say this in the MLS. Is that correct?
correct. Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
And then number 3, this is where you want to add the amount of days you want this agreement. It's a protection period. So let's say you did this agreement for 1 day or 2 or a week. This is where you can add how long you want this to protect you in the event that the tenant decides to not proceed at that moment, but then a week later, 2 weeks, they want to move forward. You want to protect yourself. So here you can put how many days you want, 7 days, a month, 2 months, whatever you feel comfortable. But as long as the buyer also knows, you can add the days here. Okay, so I would highly recommend if you're doing a 1-day agreement that you protect yourself, because if you don't, you won't be able to get that commission, because, you have to make sure that you add the amount of days you want to be protected. Just remember, whether this agreement is terminated or expired, you have to email the client the list of properties you have shown. So if you were on my Zoom last night, I told you same thing for the buyers. Make sure you create a Dotloop or Google Drive, whatever you want to make sure you are organized, right? So important. You save your agreement and save the listings that you're showing. So that way, if this ever comes to a play where you need to prove that you did show that property, you can go back to your documents and find it. So you can either have them initial the MLS. I know an agent last night, John, he mentioned, like, why don't we just send them Dotloop and have them initial it so it's timestamped? Yes. Send them a text message saying, please confirm we're going to see the following properties, days and times. Allow them to say yes, confirmed. So that way you have proof. Do not delete those text messages. Make sure you keep them. So here again, it does have the commission from landlord. So I know landlords are not used to, this is for Northeast, this is on the North Jersey. I know South Jersey, the landlord pays the commission. But now on, for our side, we're not used to seeing landlords paying a commission unless it was like a luxury or a commercial. So now we're going to have those conversations with the landlords that you want to make sure you get a listing agreement that says that in the event the tenant doesn't have the funds to pay it, you're going to get paid as the listing agent. Do not take a 0% listing agreement. So here's just saying that, again, some landlords may pay the commission, some may not. So here it has the same verbiage as the buyer agency agreement. It says that, let's say you agreed to a flat fee of 1,000, and now you find out that the buyer, the landlord is offering 1,500 for you to bring the tenant. So here's where you will pick what the tenant agrees to. Do they want you to show them properties regardless what the commission is? Do they not want you to show them properties where they're responsible to pay the full commission? Or you can include anything else that you want, right? They can pick and choose, be like, hey, Bergen County, I'm okay with showing me any properties. And then Hudson County, I only want you to show me properties where the landlord is paying the broker fee. So you get to pick and choose. This is number 2. This is where you would put that information. Any questions on that? I know that you're going to tell me, oh, my landlord will never agree. Well, guess what? The law has changed. And if they're refusing to pay you a commission, then you're not taking that listing. You're not working for free. Here is number 6, broker's duty. So this is where, just highlights what you're responsible for. This is the tenant's duty. It does have, like, for the broker's duties that you can add additional, whatever, if you want to do more for your client, this is where you can add it. So here, it says other potential tenants may be number 8. Other potential tenants may be interested in the same properties as tenant. Tenants agree that broker may work with such other potential tenants prior to, during, or after the termination of this agreement. In such situation, broker shall maintain confidentiality and will not disclose to any other potential tenant the terms of the tenant's offer or any other confidential information considered considering tenant. What does that mean? You can now submit multiple applications if you have 2, 3 tenants interested in the same property. So this is disclosing to them that, hey, you can work with multiple tenants. Questions on that part? So here's the dual agency and designated agency. If you feel comfortable and you're good at having your client to agree to a dual agency, congratulations. If not, they're going to see this on the news, right? They're going to do ads. They're going to start seeing the difference between a dual agency and designated agency. You must know the difference. So I'm not going to read line per line because we have a lot to cover, but I highly recommend that if you have not read this agreement, you take some time and read the two different agencies. And yes, we confirmed it. This is covered under our E&O insurance. Number 11, no warranties or representation. That's always been there. Applicable law. And then obviously, it goes on. And here, termination breach, just remember, if they terminated, you must send them a list of properties you have shown. And then additional terms to agreement. It's optional. You don't have to add anything, but you can. So here, again, you can change this agreement. So make sure you write something to the effect that says, this agreement may be amended in the future depending on the property you're going to find them. So if they are, let's say you charge them, which is probably rarely going to happen, but you never know, right? The industry is changing, so you need to know the option. If you just agree to take a $500 flat fee, but now and you're showing them a $4,000 rental, and the landlord is giving half a month to the tenant's broker, you want to be able to amend this so you can collect the $2,000 instead of $500. So just keep that in mind if you're agreeing to a flat fee. Okay, if you're doing half a month and the landlord's paying half a month, then it's great. The tenant technically is not bringing the money. Okay, but if the landlord is not covering anything, you want to make sure that you're getting paid for what you're showing them. So if you scroll back, I feel like depending, your client's budget, right? What they're looking for, I would pick here under commission, half a month broker fee or 1 month broker fee, whatever you feel comfortable. That would be the best way to do it. But if you choose to, be competitive and give them flat fees or a lower amount, then you can go do that. But then just make sure you add a clause here that allows you to be able to amend this agreement. Any questions? So now they have, I want to show you the non-exclusive agency agreement. Pretty much the same, very, very similar, right? But this is a non-exclusive. So not sure if you want to go that route, but it's here. It's pretty much the same. And then now they have the consent to designated agency. So this is for the landlord. Now, if they chose to do this, the landlord will sign it. This is for the landlord. Now it would be name of the designating broker. So that would be the agent's name. Then here it would be Remax Select. And then, so like here would be the listing agent, right? Then here would be Remax Select. And then the name of the licensee. So let me just make sure I'm not mixing the names. Landlord acknowledged receipt. Name of the designated broker as an authorized. Okay, so here would be the designated broker. So let's say Dave has a listing. Dave, your name will be under name of the licensee. That's you. Line 2, Remax Select. And then let's say I pick Glenn Baker to be the designated agent. Actually, Glenn won't be able to because you guys are in a team. So I would need to pick, let's say, somebody else. So Paula. Okay, so in a designated agency, you cannot have people from your team to be a designated agent. Does everyone understand that part?
I thought the designated broker would be the manager. Designating, that's a broker of the office, the manager of the office.
A licensee may legally act as a designated agent of a party only if the informed consent. Name of the designated broker. You're right. I apologize. So yes, Fran, you're right. So it would be Edona Brahimi as an authorized of Remax Select and then the licensee. You're right. Thank you for correcting me. So this is only if you're using the designated agency, guys. So this is for the landlord, and now there's one for the tenant. I want to show you a listing form. This is from NJMLS. So they told us MLSs are not collecting the paperwork unless you get audited. So you want to make sure that you check with the MLS that you're a member of. I know Monmouth, they want you to use their own form. I know Garden State MLS wants you to use their own form, but obviously if you're listing something in Garden State MLS and NJMLS, NJMLS doesn't really pick, like if you just use the Garden State MLS. I picked this one because I felt like it was most clean cut. So I thought I'd share this with you guys. So this is for a residential, rental residential exclusive listing agreement. So this is pretty much standard, just like it has been. Nothing has really changed. You put in the information of your rental. Exclusive listing agreement between broker and landlord. So obviously, you're going to put in the dates, how long you want your agreement to be, whether it's 6 months, 1 year, 3 months, whatever it is. Then you're going to put in the price, and then within the possession date of whenever the property will be available. Now here is the broker commission, right? Commission is not set by law and is fully negotiable. So please have those conversations with your landlords, because you do not want to list a property and they're under the assumption that the tenant is paying the commission. You want to make sure that you're protecting yourself to get paid. So here is where they agree to pay you like whether it's half a month, 1 month, flat fee. This is where you're going to enter it. Okay.
So I got a question.
Yes.
I mean, if we sit there and we put what we're asking, you don't just sit there and say, okay, let's negotiate. Or do you say, hey, this is what the fee is? You're kind of telling us that it's negotiable, but do we have to can we state the fee right there?
You can say my fee. Yeah, my fee is for me to rent. You want me to rent your apartment for $2,000? My fee is going to be $1,000, or my fee is going to be $2,000, just like you would at a listing. You don't say like, yeah, it's negotiable, but you can go there and say, hey, I can rent your apartment. I can list it for $2,000. My fee is half a month of broker fee of the rental amount, 1 month. You get to decide. And then you negotiate with the seller, because that's between you and the seller, which is allowed. You guys can negotiate, go back and forth. They're going to probably tell you, oh, I've never had to pay that. The tenant always paid it. Then you're going to go in and say, well, the law has changed. They're not required to pay you the full month commission. So for me to list this, this is what the fee is.
Edona, can you scroll up to the top of the form? Okay, just so everyone knows, even though it shows the compensation to buyer's agent, transaction agent, this is all coming off of this form in the on the New Jersey MLS, yes. August 12th. Monmouth's date is August 8th, I think, and New Jersey MLS is removing it August 12th. I still have not seen any of the Garden State forms come through.
I have not. The only thing Garden State MLS has changed is the input form. So when you are submitting, whether it's a rental or a sale, it's going to tell you, it's going to ask you 3 questions. Is the seller offering, a concession to the buyer or tenant? Yes or no. If you pick yes, the second question is going to say call agent. It's going to say percentage or value. And then the third one is where you're going to enter it. If it's a percentage, you're going to put 2, 1, whatever it is. If it's a flat fee, you put in the amount. So that's the only thing that Garden State MLS has changed as of right now. But what I wanted to show you is that it is changed, that the tenant is no longer obligated to pay the 1 month broker fee. So let's say Fran had a listing and she told her seller, yeah, the tenant will pay the 1 month broker fee. And now I have a tenant and I agreed with my tenant half a month. When I submit my application, I'm not going to make my client pay the 1 broker fee, right? So how's Fran gonna get paid if she didn't negotiate that with her landlord? So
I don't think anything prohibits the landlord for asking us to still try to get the tenant to
correct,
pay the fee. So there's nothing
correct,
that prohibits us, but this clause in here kind of guarantees you're going to get paid.
correct. So you can still say, hey, look, in the event that I can still request that the tenant pays the 1 month broker fee. However, in the event that we do find the perfect tenant that you want, and they can only pay half a month, you want to be able to collect the half a month or 1 month, whatever you agreed with the owner. Okay, and then here's where, again, on this line, you want to have a protection period. So in the event that the tenant and the landlord, if the property is sold or conveyed, you want to be able to collect a commission. So this is where you can add a protection, the amount of days that you want this protected. What I really wanted to really focus on is they did include that I told you guys listing forms will now have this is the New Jersey Real Estate Commission addendum to listing agreement. So this is the one where you're going to fill it out and include it with your listings. Because like Fran said, after August 12th, for example, on MLS, they won't have the listing form where you're cooperating, what you're offering to the cooperating broker. This is the form where you're going to put the MLS number, property address, the town, and then here is where you can put in what you're offering to potential cooperating broker. So if you're offering a commission, you can ask for the listing fee. As of right now, I have not heard them removing it. Obviously, if you're offering 0, then that would not be fair. You wouldn't be able to collect the listing fee. Will that change? Maybe. We're just playing it out for now. I'm not going to tell you guys to not collect it. So if you get your landlord to agree to pay half a month to the tenant's agent, then by all means, like, charge the listing fee. So this form, you guys you have to know how to use it. Make sure you understand it. Every listing form must have this, whether it's a sale or a rental. You want to have this included with your listing forms.
Because this form is required by the Real Estate Commission right now. They have not changed it. So that's why this is required at this point. They may change it. We are on a day-to-day basis here. So it's frustrating, but it's just following what you need to do.
Edona,
Yes.
if the landlord is agreeable to paying 1 full month's rent and you don't want to share that, and the assumption is that the agent for the tenant will be getting their own split. I mean, so basically you'll get paid the full and they charge from the tenant their own, right?
Correct. Yes.
So you don't have to split it.
No.
Now, what happens if you have both ends and you charge each person a month's rent? You can collect 2 months' rent now?
Yeah, not. Go ahead, Fran.
It depends on what your buyer, what your tenant agency agreement says. I think with following the law of the exclusive buyer representation agreement, if the tenant exclusive agency agreement follows the same law, you can collect from both parties, but you can't collect more than what's in that addendum, what's in that agreement and the landlord to tenant exclusive relationship. But you probably, I don't know if we found out if you could use the addendum to change that agreement, just like you can the exclusive buyer agency agreement. You probably could use the addendum to change it. So if the landlord is agreeing to pay one and you're paying one, then, and the buyer's paying one, unless you're, yes, you can. You can amend it. So if you can get them to sign off and amend it, if you ask the buyers or the tenants to pay 1 month's fee, and now the landlord is offering 1 month's fee, you have to get them to agree in this addendum that you will be accepting a month from the landlord and a month from them. How that will go, I don't know.
Yeah, but
So
why do
in
you have to
that instance,
they're two separate agreements. One's
It's
with the
about
tenant
disclosure. It doesn't matter.
and
so
it's just
yeah,
and
do we
you're
have to?
dual
I'm so sorry.
agency.
One at a time, because then I can't. So first Gary, and then I'll go back to Sue. Gary, what was the second question?
No, it's like they're two separate agreements, and if they're both saying, hey, we're fine with dual agency, uh, you know, then why do we have to say, oh, do you agree that you're getting paid from both people? Well, they're two separate agreements, aren't they?
So
Can
I'm
you-
gonna just answer this, Fran, 1 second, then you can go ahead. If
Okay.
you have the listing, right, and you said to the landlord, my broker fee is 1,000, and I'm sorry, 1 month broker fee, and I'm not offering anything to the cooperating broker. The cooperating broker will have to get their own fee from the tenant, and now a tenant comes to you, and you get them to sign a tenant agency agreement saying my fee is going to be 1 month broker fee. As of right now, the law doesn't say that you can't collect it from both. Now, if you have an agreement with the landlord agreeing to a 1 month broker fee and half of it you're giving out to the cooperating broker, and you get a tenant, let's say the tenant, you have the agreement for 1 month, now you can collect half a month from the landlord and then the other half from the tenant. Just like the buyer agency agreement. Go ahead, Fran, because I'm sorry.
So that was, you can collect from both, but if the landlord has agreed to pay you $1,000 and the tenant has agreed that you're going to accept $1,000, if you could bring up the exclusive tenant agency agreement. I believe this form says that you cannot collect more than what is in this agreement. Okay.
Correct, it is.
Now, so if the landlord's offering 1,000 and the tenant's offering 1,000, you could collect from both parties, but the tenant has to know that you are collecting from both parties $1,000. So you would need to have an amendment, the amendment to this agreement that Edona just had up, giving you approval to accept that from both parties. Does that make sense? That is what the law is. This agreement, if you get down to reading the nitty gritty on it, it says you cannot accept more than what this agreement says. So if the landlord were offering 500 and the tenant's offering, 500, there still is going to need to be an amendment to this form, as far as I can see it, allowing you to collect $1,000.
Hey, Fran, Michael
Yeah.
Plater. I have a quick question on that, simply because if you have a signed dual agency agreement, which simply states you cannot disclose to the other party any of the commission terms, or that you're in the representation of the opposite. In other words, if you have an agreement with the tenant, you can't, and you have a dual agency, you can't disclose to them what the landlord will accept or do. The same thing to the landlord from the tenant. So why would you have to disclose the commission? Because theoretically, you've already said that we can't disclose those financial terms to each other.
Because I believe in Edona, if you want to verify it, or we can get back to them, that this exclusive tenant agency agreement says that you cannot collect more than what's in here. You don't have to provide that to the seller, but to the landlord, but you do have to disclose what you are accepting. You don't have to disclose it ahead of time, and you don't have to provide this agreement to the landlord. But this whole issue was about disclosure from the very beginning, all around the wheel here. So I believe that what I'm saying is correct, that if the landlord you have an agreement with the landlord, you're getting 1,000, and the buyer exclusive tenant agency agreement says you can collect 1,000, that you must amend this agreement to let the tenant know that you are collecting 1,000 from the landlord and 1,000 from them in a dual agency where you're getting paid by both.
Okay, Fran, I think the confusion I'm having is we were talking about in a disclosed dual agency situation, but you're referring to an exclusive buyer's representation addendum. So I think
Well,
that's where I'm confused at, because we're
yeah,
talking essentially we're talking about two different documents.
yeah, but the addendum, if you look at the
I'm
addendum,
gonna open the addendum now, so just give me one
it
second.
covers all the buyer agency agreement, and it covers
See,
all the exclusive tenant agency agreement in there. Okay, you see that at the top? You have to check off which addendum you're modifying. So this addendum applies to any of those agreements listed above.
I have a question.
I don't see dual agency. Yeah, am I just not reading that right? I'm
It
seeing
doesn't,
exclusive
it,
buyer, and I'm
the,
seeing
Edona,
non-exclusive.
you could take that. The dual agency is a separate, you know.
so if you're looking for a dual agency, let me just go back to the tenancy. This is where you get to check mark right here, tenant agent and disclosed dual agent if the opportunity arises. So here you can check, you can put a check box on the box here that you're representing both sides. Does that answer your question, Michael, or no?
No, because I understand that's how you make the selection, but if you go down to the definition of a dual agency responsibilities, then it seems to me that, see, I have somewhere, dual agency. There we go. Yeah, I'm just, it just seems to me that once, in a dual agency scenario, you know, you really are not supposed to disclose that information about either side to the opposing side.
We can send a message to New Jersey Realtors to confirm, right?
Yeah, of course.
For you.
Maybe it's clear and I'm just missing it, but it seems like a different situation than when we're talking about exclusive agency.
But if you look at the informed consent to dual agency, maybe if you read that further, it might enlighten all of us about what you're doing as a dual agent at that point. Not just referencing this little paragraph, but the informed consent to dual agency, which we certainly don't have time. This is actually supposed to be over already, but I think if you read through that, you will see that, all the agreements have been designed to work with one another. And I know that it feels like a stumbling block, and we will make sure we get clarity for you from New Jersey Realtors, okay? And just make sure that, I don't know if Edona is disagreeing with me or what I mentioned, I feel is the right way you have to go about doing this.
No, it's correct. I just want to make sure you guys are aware that you do need to have this document signed when you're representing the tenant. So you cannot just show them whether you've been working with them for a year, they're your past clients. And then if you're representing the landlords, make sure you have those conversations with the landlord. Because it is negotiable and you want to make sure that you're going to get compensated.
Edona, this is Janet. I came out a little late, but
Hi.
on commissions, good morning. I know, as the broker, we don't want to set what the commission should be, but we still want to be competitive and I guess in line with what the market or the brokerages are doing. So, as a broker, are we kind of giving some guidelines around, like, it's, for me, rentals have always been like 1 month was the commission. So while I'm hearing we might have the opportunity to do less or more, what is kind of the guidance that the broker's providing in this area, if any?
We are not, because again, that's price fixing. We cannot
Yeah.
tell you. It's negotiable between you and the landlord. So, for example, like in your market, you have to have that conversation with the landlord saying, hey, this is the market that we're in, and suggest to them what you think would be fair amount. So we as you know, the brokerage, we cannot tell you like, oh, you guys, this is the norm or this is what you should be offering. We will not be doing that. So it's all negotiable.
Right. And I guess us as, we should be, in the market. So I guess
Correct.
well, I think that there's some opportunities there, like for me as I'm listening to it, I think rentals are high. There's a lot that renters are collecting, like to charge them double what they normally used to pay, would be on either side, would be something for us to consider. Like, do we want to price ourselves out the market? And they
I
get
want
over.
to share something with you guys. Let me just find it because you have to make sure that New Jersey is a tenant state. So that obviously there is limits to what you can charge the tenant. So you have to make sure your guys are staying on top of this. So give me 1 second. Let me just find it.
Yeah, like the 1.5 months.
Of course, now that I'm looking for it, I'm not gonna find it, but I'm gonna share it with you guys. You need to read that as well because there is limits to like what you can't just go now and let's say the rental's 2,000 and you say you have to pay 6,000. So there is limits to it. So I'll just make sure if you're in my office, you will receive a copy. If you're not, I'll share it with your managers and they will forward it to you guys. Just be careful don't just assume that now this is free for all. The tenants, you have to, the truth in renting, there's like so many guidelines. So we make sure that we need to follow those as well. That did not go away.
Right.
So, the lease is still 1 year and month to month. So you as a real estate licensee, you can either collect the 1 month rent or 1 year. You cannot say the landlord now is not going to say, well, I'm paying you, I want to collect 3 months upfront. You cannot be involved with stuff like that. So if they negotiate something on the side, so be it. But when you are representing either side, you have to make sure that you're abiding by the law as well. And remember, if you know what you're talking about, they'll feel more confident. If you feel like you're confused and you don't know the answers, they're not going to think that this is what's really happening. So just go prepared and you should not have an issue. This has changed for everybody, not just for us. So maybe will give you some pushback in the beginning, but they're going to get used to it. Will you lose landlords because they're going to say, I'm not paying you, I'm just going to list it on Zillow? Yes, but why would you want to help somebody who was not willing to value your time and pay you? We don't work for free. So be prepared that you might get some people that will not agree to work with you, and that's okay. You're going to keep moving and find people who will. Anyone else have any questions on rentals? So next week, very important, if you did not attend one of our rental compliance that was a couple of weeks ago, we did reschedule it for next week. And then there's another one for August 27th. I highly recommend that if you did not attend one or if you already did and you just want a refreshment, please make sure you register. We're just keeping track of who is taking that session, and then there'll be a survey. We just want to know where we're lacking information so that way we can guide you guys. Rental is like the #1 lawsuit this year. There's people always, you have to make sure that we're following the laws and the protected classes and everything. So please, I'll have our team send you guys a registration. And then make sure you register for one if you want to make sure you stay in compliance. Fran, do you have anything else you want to add that I didn't share?
No, there's just a reminder that tomorrow night is a discussion. Oh, is it tomorrow night? 6 tomorrow?
So tonight, 6 p.m. guys,
okay.
You can log on Zoom with Remax. Same link you're on right now, 6 p.m.
And tomorrow
Fran
at 10.
Tech will be tonight. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. will be Fran Blakely. She can answer any questions on any of the new forms. And then Thursday, 6 p.m., it will be me. Friday, Mastermind with Rob. Next Monday, I'm going to do another session. So at 10 a.m., it will be Marilyn answering calls. And then I'll do another one 5 to 7 just to go over the buyer agency agreement, the other forms I did last night. So if you missed that meeting last night, you're more than welcome to join next Monday. We're just putting this out for you guys so you know we're here to help you. You can call any of us. We're here to guide you.
That's it.
All right. If you guys don't have any other questions, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. All right. So just don't forget, have these agency agreements signed. Make sure you're using the new contract of sale, guys. That's been effective August 1st. I've been talking to our admins, and you guys, some of you are still using the old contract. You have to make sure you're using the correct one. And then if the other agent, the listing side is offering compensation, make sure you use the broker to broker agreement. In order for your contract to be valid, you have to use the right form. The seller disclosure fully complete. Don't wait post-closing or when it goes under contract. It has to be prior. So
Yeah,
I'll wait.
and Edona, sorry,
Yes.
it's Paul. And one good point that you brought up the other day that a lot of people are missing. I don't know if you mentioned it, but if you had any deals from 8/1 on, right? We need the
Correct.
seller's disclosure even for the active listings that we had, right?
That is correct. So if
Okay.
you had a prior active listing and it didn't go under contract prior to August 1st, you should get the seller disclosure fully complete. The waiver has been gone since April of 2024. You guys all need the seller disclosure for both buyer and seller. The flood risk had to be completed, right? Since April of 2024, as of August 1st, you need the fully completed seller disclosure, whether it's an REO or, whatever, regular transaction, trust, they need to fill out the questions. It could be unknown for everything except the flood risk, because the flood risk, they need to be able to go to FEMA and figure it out if it's in the flood zone. So please make sure you reach out to your managers if you're still not sure of what forms to use. But .loop will be uploaded hopefully no later than tomorrow. We're working on it. We're in the process of removing old forms. So please make sure if you don't have the new contract of sale, the seller disclosure, the CIS has also been released. So make sure you're using the correct one. And now obviously we have the tenant agency agreements. So make sure you're using that as well.